Good day, my name is Bluesuit and today I'll be going over my review of the early access building and management drug trafficking kingpin simulator known as Cartel Tycoon. In Cartel Tycoon, you take over the budding illegal operations of the drug trade of 1980s South America as you expand and conquer to crush your rivals and evade the authorities as long as you can until you inevitably get murdered. It's a somewhat dark take on the genre overall as you export your products into the United States, war with rival gangs, and have the occasional politician or journalist assassinated. But it is certainly a deep, thought-out, and well-executed management simulator. Cartel Tycoon currently has two different game modes that are the main story campaign and Sandbox Mode. The story campaign is the best way to get your feet wet as you're led through the budding enterprise of Caesar Garcetti as he takes over business operations for a mysterious new partner. The story really isn't that amazing yet, as most of the story mode only serves as a rough tutorial and really feels like it's just setting players up for the much more open Sandbox Mode. In the story, you're taught how and where to build your farms and warehouses, how to package and export your goods, and how to manage your lieutenants who will one day take over your business. As a tutorial, the story mode does a good job of showing off the basics of Cartel Tycoon, but really doesn't prepare you for the Sandbox Mode all that well, and players will still have a lot of trial and error when it comes to running their own empires. When you finally feel ready to cut your reins, Sandbox Mode allows you to select a character with unique abilities and traits, as well as your starting region on the game's map. Every region is unique and some are significantly harder than others. In my first playthrough, I chose a location that didn't have the means to export my product, so I had to take the nearby gang-owned airport by force in order to ship out my devil's lettuce. Obviously, this rival gang didn't really like this, and it led to a whole gang war that spread terror across the island. As a mechanic, terror will slowly rise as you spread violence or increase your business too quickly. At each interval, there will be more and more organizations out to get you. The DEA can confiscate your goods, the CIA can blow up your facilities, or eventually the US Army can just show up at your front door and kill you. It has to be carefully managed because there are a ton of ways to gain terror and a lot fewer to reduce it. Death in Cartel Tycoon works very similar to that in the Crusader Kings franchise. It is inevitable that a drug kingpin offering only vice and wanton destruction, that you will eventually die at the hands of your enemies, or sometimes even your friends. Once killed, however, the game doesn't end. Rather, you are allowed to choose a successor from among your lieutenants. Each one has its own skills and rank in your organization. These lieutenants also have special abilities, and when you first hire them, they usually only have the very first one unlocked. It could be the ability to assassinate or take enemy facilities by force or rob a bank, or it could even unlock a special type of building that you haven't yet discovered. After each time you promote a lieutenant, their rank will increase and you'll be able to unlock another ability. It's a good system, but can become a bit micromanagey once you have over a dozen of them in your employ. The majority of Cartel Tycoon is really a city builder at heart and offers a lot to fans of the genre. Growing farms, for example, can't be done everywhere, and your starting area might only be able to support the growth of cannabis when really you want to get your hands into cocaine. The game has a ton of ways to punish players who grow too quickly though, and a lot of your success comes from taking it slow and only working with what you've got on hand. Every single time that I tried to spend the majority of my money on huge growing operations, I failed. Either because it drew the ire of my enemies or because it became too difficult to balance my farms and warehouses and workshops. They all need to work in harmony, and there needs to be the right flow of drugs to keep one of them from getting overwhelmed. Everything costs money to keep running, so if you're paying for a farm to stay open, but it's not producing because the warehouse is full, that's a pretty substantial waste of capital. The one thing that Cartel Tycoon does suffer at this stage of early access is a lack of balance. It's not usually a huge issue in early access games because the balance is constantly changing as the game develops, but in this case it's definitely worth mentioning as it will cause a lot of players to fail to the point where they have to start all over. And the first is with the terror mechanic. The consequences for terror are pretty severe. Eventually the government will be all over you after you have a few stars. The problem is that it's really hard to get your terror level to drop, and it can rise based on a lot of factors that are out of your control. For example, getting attacked by other gangs. I also hope that the economy and logistics aspects of the game get balanced as well. Right now, players will find a lot more success with a small single farm operation than with a huge sprawling drug empire because your lieutenants are a necessity, but can only be automated to perform very basic tasks and their salaries eventually become unmanageable in the endgame. Right now you can pick up Cartel Tycoon on Steam for $25. As with almost every early access game, it's not worth its price yet, but it has a lot of potential. Mechanically, it's a very stable city builder with a really cool focus on a fictional South American drug trade in the 1980s. It's got great artwork and a lot of really cool unique features. However, right now it definitely feels early access with its limited content and unbalanced gameplay, so I'm valuing Cartel Tycoon at $21 in its current state, and I recommend it to fans of city management tycoons who don't mind playing a game in development. I hope you enjoy this review of Cartel Tycoon. Come see me on Twitch where you can watch our reviews in progress 5 nights a week. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Until next time, peace!